Merry Christmas! Christmas is a great time to give and receive gifts for one another. And sometimes it's just to symbolize that Jesus was a gift to us. But actually, the tradition comes from the wise men giving their gifts to Jesus in honor of who he was. Now, not exactly sure how many wise men there are because the Bible doesn't say how many. It just says how many gifts were given. And there were 3. And each gift is a wonderful symbol of who Jesus is. That's why Matthew, the author of the nativity scene, likes to put what gifts were given in his story because it symbolically represents who Jesus is to us. So do you remember what the gifts are? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Wonder what it would have been like to be that third guy. And the 2 first wise men say, I brought gold. And the next one says, I brought frankincense, which is a really expensive perfume. And then the other guy's like, I didn't know what to get, so I just brought some myrrh. You know, these are very symbolic gifts, of course. In the ancient world, gold was symbolic of kingship and royalty. Only those are the kind of people that could have lavish amounts of gold, and to be given gold was very symbolic of somebody recognizing that you're a king. It was often a gift that was ascribed to a king. Frankincense was a very expensive and beautiful, rich smelling perfume, and it was basically an oil that was made out of some tree sap that was reasonably rare across the Middle East at the time. And so often it would be used to burn in scented ceremonies in religious practices. So even in the temple in Jerusalem, part of the essence that they would burn in the temple to create that sweet, sweet aroma and to inspire people to worship God was frankincense. It was there in the mix. Frankincense was symbolic of spiritual life and godliness. Then myrrh is a bit more commonplace. It's interesting that they chose to give this as a gift. Although it was special, it was a bit easier to find and a bit more easy to come by. And you could kind of pick it up at any convenience store or marketplace in the ancient world. And myrrh was also a tree sap and also a scented kind of oil or perfume, but it was used because it was commonplace. It was usually used in burial and sending the dead off to the afterlife. And that would be the smell of it would remind people of a funeral and paying our respects to the dead. So these 3 gifts, very symbolic: king, godly spiritual life, and death. And the reason why Matthew wanted us to know what the gifts were is because in this ancient symbol of the wise men giving these gifts, he's communicating that Jesus is the King and the God of spiritual life and death. Very cool. Why don't you read the story in Matthew chapter 2 and consider that, what it means for you, for Jesus to be the God of your spiritual life beyond death. Merry Christmas.